Good evening, students. Today we are going to learn about the classification of tissues. In last lecture, we have learned about what is tissue, what are the various types of tissues. Those things we have learned. Last day we have learned that tissues are nothing but it is group of specific or specialized cell. Like muscular cells are collected together to form muscular tissues. Nervous cells are collected together to form the nervous tissues. Blood cells are collected together to form blood tissues. These tissues formation help in performing the task very efficiently. Means entire task or the job performed by a living organism for maintaining their life, that part of job is performed by each kind of tissues. Like skin help in protecting from the external material, the liver, that part of the digestive system that help in digestion, the bone gives the physical structure, the nervous cell forming the nervous tissues help in detecting the touch and the senses. So these tissues are collection of cell or a specific kind of cell which is able to form a specific task. After these tissues again combine to form organ, then organ system, then finally to the organism that we have learned. So what are their importance? Those things we have also learned. Last day we have started with the classification of tissues, broadly plant and animal. Then these plant and animal tissues are further classified into different categories depending on their activities and their function. We have learned that plant tissues may be the growing type or may be of the not growing type, permanent. Growing type are meristematic, permanent are simple or complex tissues. Growing type, from where the plant grows in their length, their diameter, deeper inside the earth, its root grows. Means the growing tissues must be present at the tip or at the end or at the leaf of the plant and at the tip of the root. Also this width of the plant is increasing, means some kind of growing tissues are also present in their girth or diameter. Also length of that stem is also increasing, so some kind of tissues are present in the stem, means between the node for their elongation. So this apical, intercalary and lateral tissues are present. Further, this permanent may be the simple or complex. We have learned simple may be the parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Parenchyma contain two kind of tissues to trap the air pockets so that the aquatic plant can float over the water without sinking. That kind of tissues is called as parenchyma. Another important property of plant is photosynthesis, means preparation of their own food. For that, the plant contains a specific tissue called chlorenchyma, which contains the pigment chlorophyll, which traps the sunlight to convert the water taken through their root and the carbon dioxide trapped inside the leaf through stomata into glucose molecule, which is acting as food for the plant. Like sugar, fat we are taking for our growth, plant also needs that sugar, glucose, that is carbohydrate. So that carbohydrate is taken or basically synthesized by the plant itself. Plant cannot take it directly from the other source like we are taking through our mouth. So therefore this synthesis means preparation from the raw material is done by this chlorenchyma inside the leaf of the green plant. The other collenchyma gives the plant for their flexibility to bend to certain extent without breaking, while the sclerenchyma are the protective tissues like the bark and cork. They are for protection from the harsh weather condition like high temperature, this rain and all these things, so that unwanted water do not enter inside the plant. The water shall enter through their roots only. The other complex plant tissue, it is your also called as the vascular tissues. It consists of xylem and phloem. Xylem is for conducting the water from the root to the different part of the plant up to the leaf where the photosynthesis is occurring in the chlorenchyma tissue. Another is this, when this food is prepared, food means the glucose or carbohydrate prepared by the plant. Then this food is transferred to different part of the plant, because for the growth of the cell needs food. So that food synthesized in the leaf of the plant is transferred to different cell or all the cells of the plant, even to their root, to their stem, to their branches, to their twigs. So that flow of food from the leaf to different part is occurring through the phloem tissue. So xylem is for conducting the water from root to the different leaf. It is always from the root to the leaves. Phloem is for distributing the food synthesized in the leaf to different part. So from the leaf, the food is going to different part, even to the root or to the other branches. So this flow of food is bidirectional. Now this xylem contains 4 types of cell, because complex tissues having more than one kind of cell, but the simple tissues have only one kind of cell. So this xylem tissue contains these 4 kind of cells. They are tracheids, vessel, xylem parenchyma, xylem fiber. While the phloem contain 4 kind of cell, they are sleeve tube, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, phloem fiber. So this is about the plant tissues. About this we are going to write everything. Another, we will also go for the animal tissues. Animal tissues are classified as broadly into the 4 categories. One is called epithelial or outer boundary tissue. Next one is the connective tissues. The next one is muscular tissues, and the last one is for sensing. It is the nervous tissue. Now epithelial means the outer boundary, like skin that we are getting on our body, or any animal, that skin is a kind of epithelial. Now these epithelial tissues are again of the various types, like the skin on our body, but there are certain other outer lining, like in our mouth also, like your tongue or anywhere. So you are getting that muscles are packed through the inner skin also, like our inner skin of the mouth, esophagus, our stomach, everything. Okay, so that the muscle remain in between the inner lining in our body and the outer skin. Okay, student. So that inner lining you are observing is very soft, because if you are taking any dust particle or any kind of thing or any hard material or rigid material in your mouth, the mouth skin or the mouth inner lining get damaged. Or if you are eating the very hard material through your food pipe, the food pipe get damaged. So means what, the inner lining or the inner skin in our body are much softer and very thin than the outer skin. So this inner skin of our stomach, of our heart, means alveoli, they are called as the very thin and flat tissues. So such a single layer or hardly 1 to 2 layer thin flat tissues are called as squamous tissues. Now this squamous is further classified into the simpler, means the thickness of that flat tissue is hardly 1 to 2 layer, that is called as simple squamous. Next one is more than one layer over the another, means the fine layer, so that a bit thicker protective layer or the skin is formed, that is called as the striated squamous. Like our inner lining consists of the simple squamous, which is very thin, but our skin outer lining or outer boundary consists of very thick one. Sometimes you are observing, sometimes you get rubbed, then you are observing only a thin surface of your skin get peeled off, but not the complete cutting. Okay, you are getting some of the skin material get peeled off or removed. So only few layer from the skin is removed. So outer skin consists of the thicker or this collection of thin skins. Means the different simple squamous get layer to form a stick or a striated squamous. Next one is cuboidal and columnar. Our intestine, where the diffusion of glucose from intestine to the blood have to take place. So that contain large number of tissues which are placed one over the another, so that some more space between the tissues are there, so that from the one boundary to the other boundary the material can pass. Exclusively this glucose molecule can pass. A student, glucose molecule cannot pass from our esophagus to the other muscles or to the blood, because the pores are very thin. But going to the intestine consists of another kind of tissues, where one tissue is placed over the another with a bit more gap, so that the glucose molecule, food, water that can pass from our stomach, alimentary canal to the blood. That's why later on this, from this blood, the excess water in the blood is come out through our body in form of urine. So how is this digestive system? How is all those passing? These things we have to learn in our class 10th. That we will learn next year. But this time we have to just understand the intestine itself consists of another kind of epithelial tissues, where the gap between the tissue is more, and their structure is not simple flat, but consists of linings, one line over the another. While lining are placed over the another, you are getting the gaps getting generated. So such kind of longer tissues or cuboidal shaped tissues, while they are stacked one over the another, more gap will be there, so that material can diffuse from one side to the other side. Okay, student? So this way, the diffusion through these gaps to the other side, that occur in columnar and cuboidal tissue. There is another thin hair-like or finger or a very small finger-like projection called cilia, which provides more surface area for this diffusion, for passing from one to another. That is called ciliated tissues. These ciliated tissues or this cilia kind of tissue are present in our intestine, in our tracts, means like our windpipe there. So what is this ciliated? That we will see. Another, the gland or glandular tissues. Gland are certain kind of smaller tissues which is storing certain or which is able to secrete certain chemical called enzymes and hormones. So these enzymes and hormones are used by the body for various metabolic process, like maybe in the digestion, maybe for the growth. So these particular kind of chemical are stored in certain places in our body. So that certain place consists of certain kind of tissue called glandular tissues. So that glandular tissues, the most common example is in our mouth. While we are looking for the tasty food, automatically water comes out or water leaches in our mouth. From where this water comes? Whether from a stomach? No. That water is secreted or generated in the gland present in our mouth, in the inner lining of the mouth. That gland is called as salivary gland. That gives the water-like material called saliva. This saliva helps in softening the food. While you are eating any food, you are getting that water generated in our mouth, so that it mixes with the food that you are taking and ultimately we can easily swallow it. So this water generation in our mouth, which helps in other process of making the food softer so that it can pass through our food pipe or esophagus without damaging the inner lining of esophagus. So such tissues are called as glandular tissue. It is present at many places, means all the glands which are able to give hormones or enzyme, they contain this glandular tissue. Like mouth contain this salivary gland. Even the sweating, while you are going in high temperature or during the summer season, the sweating occur over the body. So just below this skin, there is another gland called sebaceous gland, which gives rise to this sweat. Another, while you are weeping, from the eyes, certain water comes out. Which kind of water? Whether it is water in our eye? No. The water that generated in the gland around our eye, that is called as the lateral gland. So many glands in our body, like liver is also one of the gland, pancreas is also one of the gland. So they contain a specific kind of tissue called glandular tissues. That one. So these glandular tissues are also the part of epithelial tissues, but perform a specific task of giving enzymes or hormones or releasing enzymes or hormones, forming the gland. Connective tissues like the bone or this flexible bone-like structure called cartilage, these are falling in this. The blood is falling in this category. So this connective tissue is classified into a skeletal. A skeletal means which gives the structure or a skeleton of body. It may be bone or the cartilage like bone everywhere present, which is very hard, and that once it bend, it get broken, it is not flexible. But certain structure like a structure of ear, okay, ear, this ear, while even twisting, it is regaining itself. Our nose regaining itself. So such flexible material is called as cartilage. It is present in our nose and ear. Another fluid tissue. Fluid means the liquid form of connective tissues. It is the blood, which is carrying oxygen, food, hormones, and waste generated from one part to the another part. Another, like blood, there is another kind of liquid which also help in this transportation to certain extent, or it is the basically lymph. Lymph is the collection of liquid blood from our blood vessel, from our main circulatory system. That we will learn in our class 10. So this is fluid tissue. Next one is the areolar tissues. Areolar tissue help in connecting muscle to bone or one bone to the another. Okay, so that one bone can move over another. So if this adhesive tissue is binding muscle with the bone, it is called as tendon, and between the two bones which gives the movement of one bone over the another, that is called as ligament. Ligament is present at all the joints of our hand, our ankle, as our knees, everywhere there is ligament. Okay, even between these. So wherever two bones or piece of bones are there and they are moving over the another, so in between the bones, say from here and here, between this one, this is bone, another this is bone. So between this, at the place of their movement, ligament is present here, so that the two bones are not rubbed over the another. Because if the two metals are, say, two metals are rubbed over the another, that will produce sound, and the metals or the material get rubbed. After rubbing, they get peeled off, or their size may vary, or their atoms may get destroyed. So for a smooth movement of or connection of bones one over the another, there is ligament between the two bones. Next one is adipose. Adipose tissues are just below the skin and after the muscle, so that excess fat which is generated in our body, if we are eating excess of food, that gets stored there. That is adipose tissue, means fat storing tissues. Next kind of tissue is muscular tissues. The name itself indicates it is for making the muscles. Why these muscles are required? So muscles are required with the bone so that movement can be done. Otherwise, if only bone is there, then smooth movement is not possible. Also, this muscle gives the structure over the skeleton. Means once the bone is there, above that the muscles are placed, so that suitable structure of the organism or body structure is formed. These muscles may be the very smooth one, like we are getting, it appears the muscles are smoother, or this muscle smoother and softer may be the very hard one. At certain places there are very hard muscles. So these hard muscles are very compact and multinucleated. They are called as striated muscles. Like here and in many of the places you will get striated muscles. But at certain places the muscles are soft and very smooth. They are called as a smooth muscle. How is their structure? That we will see. The next one, the heart consists of a special kind of muscle which is continuously pulsating, means have the periodic expansion and contraction of that muscle by itself. So such muscle is called cardiac muscle. So heart consists of a special kind of muscle called cardiac muscle. Next one is for absorbing the sense or giving the senses. Like even you are not looking to your leg, but if any insect or certain thing get touch your skin or at the leg, you are able to feel it. Then you are quickly looking downward, what is just below your feet or below your leg. Means the sensing is required. For that, another kind of cell called nerve cell is there. So collectively nerve cell is spread all over the skins. Okay, so that tissue, that nerve cell or collection of nerve cell forming a tissue called nervous tissue. Now this includes even your head, means inside your head the brain, also a spinal cord. So this brain and a spinal cord forming the central nervous system, means main part where processing occur. And the other, like over the skin, just touching, we are able to feel it. Like from the eye we can sense, from nose we can smell. So these are called as the peripheral nervous system or peripheral nervous tissues. Okay, these are called as perineal nerves. Okay, student. So these are all about the tissues. So I had explained each and everything once again. So you have to go through this again and again. Now today let us go for writing point wise all these things. So student, I have explained everything in this plant tissues. So we are first going to learn about the plant tissues. We will write for each and every kind of classification of plant tissues. So students, in this plant tissues, it can be the growing called meristematic. So these meristematic tissues are growing tissues. And this permanent, they are not growing, means they are the matured tissues. These are growing and frequently undergo the cell division. Meristematic undergo frequent cell division. These are of the three types: meristematic, apical, intercalary, and lateral. Apical present at their shoot and tip of root. Intercalary between the nodes. We will see the structure. And lateral for the diameter increase or girth. It is this one. Then coming to the permanent, simple permanent or complex permanent. Simple permanent, one type of tissues, but in complex permanent there is more than one type of tissues. Now coming to the simple tissues, it may be the parenchyma, which again consists of arenchyma and chlorenchyma. This chlorenchyma is for the photosynthesis. This is for photosynthesis. But this arenchyma is for flotation. Means in aquatic plant is able to float over the water without sinking because of this arenchyma. Next one is collenchyma. It is for bending or flexibility and strength, means bending without breaking. Then sclerenchyma, it consists of the fibers. Another is sclerite. So these fibers give the protective or the outer boundary of the plant, like the bark. So these are collectively forming the bark. And further, once the bark gets too much older, they become dead and they get converted into the cork. So mostly these sclerenchyma are the dead tissues, means they do not have the nucleus, so nucleus become die. Next, coming for the permanent complex tissues for carrying the water, it is our xylem. For carrying the food, it is phloem. This xylem contains four types of cells: trachete, vessel, xylem, parenchyma, xylem, fiber. And this phloem, which carries the food, consists of another four kinds: sleeve tube, companion cell, phloem, parenchyma, phloem, fiber. These are the student. There is another category I have written here called protective tissues, but these protective tissues are nothing but these are also considered in this sclerenchyma. Okay, like the bark and other thing, like the cork that we are getting. So though it is written separately, because these are the dead tissues, therefore I have just written here. So it is for the protection, but this is the part of this sclerenchyma. Okay, student. So this is about our plant tissues. Now about each and every kind of this, we are going to write the topic name, their importance. Then we will also go for this animal tissues, So animal tissues again of the same category, and I had also explained. So students, let us first go for this plant tissues. So in this plant tissues, the very first one is, the very first classification is your meristematic and permanent tissues. So let us write plant tissues may be first classified into meristem or meristematic, then the permanent.
Protective tissues.
Yeah, so we have to understand the difference between them. Meristematic tissues
Permanent tissues.
versus the other one that we will learn is the permanent tissues. So what are the broader difference? A student, the broader difference is these are growing tissues. These are growing tissues. What do we mean by growing tissues? Their sizes changes and their cell undergoes faster cell division so that new material get formed. So faster cell division, because new cells are formed by cell division, and growth of tissues and cells.
Growth of tissues.
So it is this one. But here this cell division occur but very slowly, and it do not give rise to new kind of material. Okay, so it is slower growth or growth is negligible or almost no growth in these tissues. Okay, once the tissue is formed, it will be remain throughout their life, but their size increase because of formation of new such tissues at the other area. Okay, so growth is negligible. These are for a specific task, means the cell is performing a specific task, means this cell are specialized for that purpose only. So right, cells of these tissues, cells of these
Perform specific task.
tissues do or perform the task assigned. And these tissues or these cells, means these cells are the matured cell. So consist of
Matured cell.
matured cell or matured tissues also we can say. So how is this maturing, or how this matured cell or tissues are obtained? So students, here we have learned that because of faster growth or more cell division, the cell size increases. So here the cell size and function, means the task is not fixed one initially, is not specified or specialized, means not fixed. Once these cell and their function get specialized, means once this cell grow to certain size, they get matured, then they get converted into this permanent tissue. Okay, student? So these cells grow and become matured to perform a specific function or task, then it gets converted into which one? Permanent tissues, student.
Permanent tissues.
Converted into permanent tissues. Getting? Means these meristematic finally get converted into permanent. So how these permanent tissues are obtained or formed? Student, these permanent tissues are not formed directly, but it is obtained from the meristematic tissues. So these meristematic tissues gets converted into the permanent, and the conversion of these meristematic tissues into the permanent tissues, so that it is able to do particular task, a specific function, and get the specific shape and size. So this process of formation of a special kind of cell having a specific function from newly born cells is called differentiation. So right, this process is called differentiation. This is another important point. Are you getting? So student, how these permanent tissues are formed? So it is obtained from where? Meristematic
tissues.
But when we obtained, when they get mature, when they means it is meristematic, get matured or differentiated. Matured or differentiated. That's why it is called as permanent. Getting? Means it is permanently existing for a specific task, and this process is called as what? Differentiation. This formation of permanent tissue from the meristematic tissue is called as differentiation. So here this conversion that we have written from this to this one, above this arrow, please write the process called, which process? Differentiation. So differentiation is a process by which the meristematic tissues gets converted into the permanent tissues. Okay, students? Very important thing you have to keep in mind. Do not forget. From this you can just understand permanent tissues are the growing tissues, but meristematic tissues are growing tissues, permanent tissues are the fixed tissues. So meristematic are present at where? The growing area of the plant. So right, it is present at growing zone or area or region or zone or area of plant, like where the plant grow mostly at their tip.
Stem.
Okay, so like a stem tip
Tip.
of a stem and tip of root. Tip of root. This tip of a stem, also called as your shoot, and this is your root. Okay, student. So this way we have to understand. It is also found that the thickness of the plant also increases. So for increasing the thickness or girth, there is another tissue. So those things we will see. Another important difference from the plant tissue is that from the animal is that plant do not grow uniformly. You are observing that in one area the plant grow more and in other area the plant grow less. Okay, some of the branches grow faster or more, but the other branch remain thinner. Correct? So the growth is what? Non-uniform. Non-uniform. Unlike
Permanent tissues.
animal. In animal, like even human or dog or cat, you are getting that each part is growing uniformly in their size and length. Is it possible that no, the cow or the cat get birth and after some time the leg grows, after some time the ear grows, the tail grows? No, the size, everything is growing uniformly. So unlike animal, which is uniform. So this non-uniform growth of the plant make it region specific. So this non-uniform and location or region specific, and location or region specific. Like the bark will form over the stem and the trunk, while the bark of the newborn twig, they are thinner and they are soft. Okay, so the cork is always formed at the stem in the older region. So these are the important differences between the meristematic and permanent. Okay, student.
Scroll down.
Permanent,
Sir, can you scroll down?
yeah, it will come. So these permanent tissues, they are doing particular task and based on the particular task there are different type. So they are like for the food preparation or photosynthesis, there is what is there for photosynthesis? Tell me quickly. Yes, student.
Parenchyma.
Yes, it is chlorenchyma. For buoyancy, it is
Chlorine.
no arenchyma. Okay, so all this
Parenchyma.
particular task, doing particular task, so different kind of tissues. So a specific kind of tissues. By different kind of permanent tissues. Kind of permanent tissues. Okay, so what are their further classification? that we are already knowing, that we had already written. So these permanent tissues may consist of one type of cell or more than one type of cell. So it may contain one type of cell,
Many type of cell.
or more than one type of cell. So based on one type of cell only, it is called as your simple permanent. And if there is more than one kind of cell in the tissues, it is called as complex permanent tissues. So these simple permanent tissues can again be of different type based on their function. Like for their photosynthesis, we have the parenchyma, we have the collenchyma, we have the sclerenchyma. Again, this parenchyma, the two kind, the table we had already written, maybe your irenchyma, maybe your chlorenchyma, this thing. The complex type, also called as the vascular tissues, maybe xylem or maybe phloem. Okay, student? So about all these things we are going to learn. Another, but these growing tissues or meristematic tissues, they are unspecialized tissues or undifferentiated tissues. So these are unspecialized, means doing a specific task is called as unspecialized, means not doing a specific task, but doing a specific task means it becomes specialized. So unspecialized or undifferentiated tissues. So it always contain particular kind of or only one kind of cells. So one kind of cell. Get it? Always. Now let us go for the division of this. So it may be of the three type. One is called as apical, another one is called lateral, another one is called, yes student, intercalary.
Intercalary.
So we are going to learn about all these classifications one by one. Means about this thing, means apical, intercalary, lateral we will learn, then parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma we will write, then arenchyma, chlorenchyma, fiber, sclerite, then xylem, phloem. About all these things we will write. Okay, students? So let us first start with our meristematic and permanent I had explained. So in this meristematic, so A, the part 1 is our meristematic. So this meristematic tissues may be of the three type. I am going to write all the three type here and explain in this table itself. A student, this may be your apical. So right, apical meristematic or apical meristem. Next one is intercalary. Meristem. or meristematic tissues. So whether you are writing meristematic tissues or meristem mean the same thing. Okay, student? And the last one is called as
Lateral meristem.
good. So lateral meristem. A student, this apical meristem, these are for the faster growth or formation of new cells. Getting? So for formation of new cells for the growth. This growth or generation of new part or formation of new part of plant. From this you can understand, if the plant size is there, so the size increases or the new part is formed. Formation of new part, it is this. Where the new part is formed? Where this apical tissue will present. And mostly we are observing, so new twig. So new twig or branch or buds, getting, or even flower or even fruits, or even flower or even fruits. When this flower get matured, it converted into fruits. That we will learn in our chapter number, in our class 10th. So this new twig, branch, buds, flower or fruits are formed. Why? Because of or in the area where apical meristem is present. Getting? So in area where area or zone or region of the plant where apical meristem is present. Okay, student? So where these thing like new branch or new buds are formed in a plant, or the growth or new roots, where these are formed, a student? So one is at the shoot or tip. So these are present at, so where this apical meristem is present, so it present at means this, it means this tissue present at where, a student? In which area? Means this is located at
Tip area.
growing tip or
Tip of stem of fruit.
yes, growing tip of stem or the shoots or shoot tip, or it may be also your which area? Root tip.
Root.
Of branch or root of branches or roots. For root it will be the root, and for the twig or shoot it will be the branch. Okay, student? So where it present, a student? if I am drawing a plant, let me just consider this is the plant. Consider this is just a plant. Okay, there are different leaves. I'm just drawing very few leaves. I'm not designing the plant, but just for example, we have to just understand. Okay, student? So observe it carefully. This I am considering the ground. Now, there are roots. These are the roots of the plant. So many roots are there. These are your roots. Understand this carefully. Everything I will draw in this, all the three kind of tissues which is present where, everything I will draw. A student, you will also observe there is not only one branch, but there can be many branches also. Let me draw one more branch here. Let me also draw another branch here. Getting it, students? So this I have drawn as a tree. A student, now where these plant will grow, how they will grow? A student, they will grow at these tips, their length increases. Okay, these tips, these root tips, that will increase. So all these areas, this area that we are marking, even just near to the collection of these or joint of this leaf to this branch, that area also, because in this area new buds are formed. So these area which are at the top, so these contain which kind of tissues? Apical tissue.
Meristematic.
Very good. So all these area contain, and even this one also. So these have apical meristem, right? So have apical meristem. Are you getting? We are also observing sometime that this length of this trunk also increases. Okay, student? Means the trunk length will not be this much. Once it is this much, but later on you will observe that this length also increases. Getting? So this increase in length, for increase in length, this is the length. This also increases. Very slow, not very fast, but very slow. One is this. Another, if you are considering this diameter or this girth, so this is the girth. So this also increases. with time. So for this increase in this length, this increase in length is called as elongation. Another, this girth or the diameter, it is basically the diameter, student. So another two kind of hormone is, these tissues are required for this growth of their length or elongation and widening of the plant, means increase in their diameter or girth. So these things. So students, we shall understand here that this girth or diameter, for this there is another kind of tissue called lateral. So this diameter word is also called as lateral word. So this is our diameter or lateral. Because we have learned in mathematics that lateral surface area means sidewise. Okay, student? So this is lateral. So based on this name, the tissue name is given as lateral meristem. So lateral meristem are present in this region. So right, there is lateral meristem. But for increasing the length between these nodes, a student, wherever there is branching, those branching are called as nodes. Like here it is one of the branching. So this branching is like node formation. There is another node at the earth. We can take this itself as one of the node. So considering this, between this node, this one to this one length, this node length increases because of the elongation. So this increase in node length means between the branch, from where the branch is coming out, they are called as the node. So here it contains another kind of tissue called intercalary. Meristem. Get it? So these are the three kind of tissues which are required for the growth of the plant. One is between the node, another one is at the top, and the last one is for increasing the girth or diameter. Okay, so I had already explained apical. Now let me go for the intercalary. A student, what is this intercalary? So it is the tissues
that are made for growing the nodes.
Good. So tissues for increase in length of the stem or length of the branch, for increase in length of stem. This increase in length of a stem called as what? Elongation. So tissues for elongation is called as intercalary. So it is always between two or more nodes. Get it? So it is just below the nodes from where the size of the stem get elongated. So it is present below the nodes. Getting? Like you are observing the bamboo tree. The newly born bamboo tree, the nodes are quite closer, say from here and here, but later on you will get, after a few days, it get elongated. So because of these intercalary which are present just below the nodes and also above the nodes, So if you observe carefully, then this intercalary is present where? At these points, student. These are the reason for intercalary. These are the reason for intercalary. Okay? So this area, or we can understand this area where the nodes are formed. So at these points, the tissue present are your intercalary. Okay, student? It is this one. Now, another one is increase in the diameter. A student, this intercalary, how the length increases? You can observe that because of intercalary, this increases upward, this increases downward. That's why this entire length from here to here, it gets increases. This way the stem length get increased. So present between two nodes, present below the nodes and above the nodes. So this help in elongation. So increases the length of twig. So increases the length of matured stem or trunk, we can write. Not the new one, but the existing one, their length increases because of this intercalary. Okay, like here we have observed. The last one is called lateral. This lateral is very easy. So it is tissues
Helps in growth of diameter of plant.
Increase in diameter or thickness of the branch. For increase
Growth of the plant.
diameter or thickness, the term used is girth of the plant. Okay, so the branch become branch or trunk become thicker. Why? Due to this lateral meristem. So where we are observing lateral meristem is present everywhere. Means in this region, just avoid the node. After node, once it get matured in those area, means from here to here, it is your lateral meristem. In this area, it is your lateral meristem. In exact sense, if you are observing, you will observe that it is the entire inner lining. In this area, it will be present. Okay, student? Even also here, these are your lateral meristem. Getting a student? So you can understand like this. It is your lateral meristem. So this way I have explained how the plant grows, which tissue is responsible for the growth and which one tissue is present where. A student, you can also see in your book, here you are getting that the location of different tissues are indicated in this figure also. Though roots are missing in this figure, that's why I had drawn a separate figure. Sorry, students. So let us copy this. Students, we can also copy our. So are we getting? The same thing is also drawn in this figure, where you can observe that at the top there is apical meristem. Are you getting? So these are at the top, also at the root. But these are the nodes. Nodes are where? Nodes are the joints. Getting no? So these are the nodes basically. These are the nodes. So just below the and above the nodes where the branching occur, these are the nodes. So just below and above the nodes, in this figure only the above is shown, but it is also possible to be below. So there is intercalary. Getting? But in between these nodes and at all the areas, there is lateral meristem. Getting? So lateral meristem is extended everywhere. Getting no? The same thing we have done. So this is the area. It is not just a line, but it is the complete area you can see. So this is like the complete area. The complete area. These areas. So that this diameter, finally it will increase in this way. Because of this intercalary, the length will increase up and down. Because of this, because of apical meristem, the entire length means the new branch will form at the top. Also there is a root. In the root also there is, okay, that we have drawn in our figure. So please be careful about this. So this way we have learned about all the three kinds of lateral meristem. Yes, student, any doubt then please ask. Otherwise, can we go for the permanent tissues? Yes, students.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us go for the permanent tissues. The B1 is our permanent tissue.
Sir, can you show me previous page?
Do it quickly. Write it quickly. What do you want to write? The last one? You have to draw this figure along with me. Students, you should be careful and must write the compile your note. That will be very helpful. You will observe that this will be helpful in your NTSE when you will go in class 10th and preparing for the NTSE and higher standard. All these things are again you have to read it. So 9th is very much basic. You have to learn each and everything. Okay, written? Yes? Can we go ahead or still writing, a student? Yes, Sanjana. Can I go ahead? What are you writing? Okay. You can go through the videos if you need more time. A student, now this permanent tissues can be classified into the two category. One is called as the simple permanent. So let us first write the difference between simple permanent tissues and another one is called as the complex permanent tissues. Students, the simple permanent tissues are those tissues which consist of only one kind of tissue, one kind of cell. So tissues consist of or having only one kind or type. Are you getting? It is not only one cell but one type of cell, only one kind of cell. And 8 tissues having or consist of more than one kind of cell, more than one kind of cells. So it is the difference. So because of the more than one kind of cell, the structure is also complex. So it is for the specific task. So task like flotation or photosynthesis. Photosynthesis means preparation of the food by the plant, like a storage of food, a storage of food, the strength, the flexibility is provided by this simple permanent tissues, and it is for transportation. So in plant or in any organism, what is required? Water and food. Waste material need to be transported. For transportation of water and food synthesized by the plant. Though synthesis occur by the simple permanent tissue by chlorine-chyma, but their transportation to the other part takes place through this complex permanent tissues, and water transportation by the xylem and food transportation by the phloem. It is this one. So there are various types, what they are, that we are going to learn. So once we are going to learn about the simple permanent tissues, the diagram we had already written. The simple permanent tissues may be the parenchyma, maybe your collenchyma, maybe your sclerenchyma. This parenchyma, again of the two kind that we will discuss. One is called irenchyma, another is chlorenchyma. Okay, these things we are going to discuss. So now students, let us start with the simple permanent tissues, in which the first one is our parenchyma. So what is this parenchyma? That we will understand. So let us go for the 1A. Let me write this as the 1 and this as the 2. So simple permanent tissues. In this category, the first we have to learn is called parenchyma. A student, these parenchyma tissues are the simplest permanent tissues which are having larger spacings and single nucleus, means between these cells of these tissues more spacings are there. So right, it consists of live cell. So these are the live, because we will learn the sclerenchyma is the dead tissue or consists of the dead cells. So live cells are present with nucleus, because the cell is live only if it contains the nucleus. The cells are arranged with large spacing So cells are having larger spacing. Because of this larger spacing, it traps air. So such arrangement of cell is called your parenchyma tissue. That we will write later. Where it is found throughout the body of the plant. It supports the plant. It synthesizes the food, stores the food for the plant, give the tendency of flotation. It means the function synthesize and stores food. So this synthesis, for this synthesis, the parenchyma have another classification. So that tissue inside this parenchyma is called as your chlorenchyma. Larger spacing, so air traps, so air cavity,
By that it can floats.
so it is by the another kind of tissue in this category called parenchyma.
By that it can floats.
Yes. So it means the wood or the aquatic plant can float in water. So who is responsible for this flotation? It is the parenchyma.
Time.
Where it is found means the location or found throughout the body of the plant. Okay, student?
Found throughout the body of the plant.
Throughout the body of plant. Whether it is the root or a stem or tip or leaf, everywhere this tissue is present. A student, in plant, do not think just one part consists of one tissue, another part another tissue. Entire body of the plant may contain more than one kind of tissue. Certain specific tissues like our meristematic tissue, they are present at a specific location. So this parenchyma is present throughout the body. But in this parenchyma, if you consider the synthesis of food, so this synthesis again occur in the leaf. So chlorenchyma in leaf of plant. And this parenchyma which gives the flotation, it is in the trunk mostly. Okay. So this is about the parenchyma. A student, classification of parenchyma we can write here. So parenchyma may be of the two kind. One is called as the chlorenchyma tissue. Another one is called as the parenchyma chyma tissue. A student, chlorine-chyma tissue, it contains chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll.
So chlorophyll is a pigment. So because of this chlorophyll, it can perform
Photosynthesis.
good. Performs photosynthesis. This photosynthesis is the process of making food. That is, makes food. This food or glucose or carbohydrate. So make food for the plant itself. So make food for itself because all the life need food. So it is this. Mostly found in, where it is found? In good, the green area. So mostly green leaves, and to wherever there is green part of the branch or the new branch, green branches. The new branches, older trunks do not have this chlorine chyma. Iron chyma, so it is spacing between the tissues. So more spacing. So it traps air inside it. Because of large cavity or the gap between the tissues. It is this one. So because of this, the weight is reduced. So it gives property of flotation.
Flotation.
Of aquatic plant, or all the plant rather, or aquatic plant. So aquatic plant do not sink, rather they float on the surface of the sea and water, and they are able to grow. So it is very important, student. Because of this larger cavity, it is able to float over the water surface. So this was about the parenchyma. I think next day we shall continue with this sclerenchyma and other part. Other part are even more simpler. We can write this kind of point discussion, then we will end it. Yeah, student, any doubt then please ask. Write it quickly. These are very important things. So a student, your task is, you people have not read your textbook. Please read your textbook. Otherwise, if you are not reading, you cannot remember all these new terms. And our RC book also, please read it and do blue question of the
Textbook.
yes, this is blue question of our textbook. Initial, I think 2 of them you can do. Let me just verify it. Here one is this one.
69.
Yeah, the page number. This one we can do. What is tissues and all these things?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
then see how is the structure of this parenchyma. Next day I will take this figure and I will once more I will just explain it. Do only this much, these 2 questions, and please read the So it is our 59 number
Okay,
page.
sir.
Student, any doubt then please ask. Otherwise, let us stop the class here because I have to go for the class 10th also. Any doubt, student?
No, sir.